I don't think a lot of people know. 90% of shoppers never get past page 1.
That's true. That's why sponsored products matter so much. Relevance is going to keep declining the further down you scroll. It's a lot like walking into a physical store. The things at the front of the aisle are always going to sell better than the stuff in the middle or the end.
Nick Gezzar,
former senior account executive at Amazon
and military intelligence officer,
equipping sellers with the right intel
for a profitable strategy with Amazon-sponsored ads.
One of the things you got to really know is ads is not really an optional part of the equation anymore.
Why is that?
There was a term we had in the Army, you need to fight for information. And that's kind of what you're doing here. To go in, spend some money, see what works, optimize from there.
As an Amazon seller's getting started, where would you say the first place to go to?
Sponsored products is table stakes. If you are going to be on Amazon, this is the bare minimum that you need to do to be relevant.
There's some people that say you cannibalize your organic trying to be the #1 sponsor. What's your opinion of that?
They call it the mere exposure effect in marketing. What that does is it makes your brand appear more popular. This is something that I would advise every seller at Amazon to have.
Welcome to a special series on how to be a better Amazon seller. And today I have Nick Gezzar, former Amazon employee, super smart guy, very involved on the ad side for Amazon, who's going to share some knowledge and secrets on how to be a better Amazon seller, but more importantly, how to use your resources so that you get the best out of ads. Nick, what's going on, man?
Doing all right, man. One thing I wanted to add, I got to work at Amazon both on the retail side and the ad side. So not only did I get to become really an expert on ads, but also to see how it really affects you in the retail sense. Mm-hmm. And if you're a new seller on Amazon, one of the things you got to really know is ads is not really an optional part of the equation anymore.
Why is that?
Well, when people go into the search bar and look for a category that your product is in, they need to be able to find you. And that's going to come from investing in things like sponsored products, sponsored brands, and sponsored display. You got fingers in frame here. Those three things make up the family of ads that we call sponsored ads. Amazon ads is, they don't get the credit that a lot of other online advertisers do. They do everything from the sponsored search on Amazon.com all the way up to Thursday night football ads. If you have a 6 to 7 figure budget, Thursday night football might be on the menu for you, but really the meat and potatoes of it all comes down to sponsored ads.
Let's put some things into the mix, especially for those Amazon sellers, whether they're at the beginning of their Amazon journey or even further along. There's a lot of mixed signals when it comes to ads, whether you're trying to use it to launch a campaign or launch a product, sustain a product or grow it organically, as well as using it as a method to help boost keywords. Now, I want you to just explain for our audience, no matter where they are in their journey, how does Amazon view ads from the standpoint of it being a tool that then points to the best products or whoever pays the most? Talk a little bit about the mindset of why Amazon ads and the role it plays within Amazon so that it can surface products that are relevant.
So you really have like two distinct and parallel systems that do actually touch. On the one hand, you have the Amazon search algorithm, and that's just what's going to come up organically. If you type, for example, toaster into the search bar, you'll get presented with some options for toasters. But what you'll see when you type it in is that at the very top, you'll have sponsored products. So you might see an ASIN, that's Amazon talk for a unique item, that will be brought up at an ASIN level, showing up first in the results, a little tag that says sponsored. That's a sponsored products ad. At the very top of your search results, you're going to see a brand. I'm unfortunately not a toaster, KitchenAid. You may see KitchenAid show up at the very top of the banner that has their logo, a number of ASINs to really be like, hey, KitchenAid must be the best toasters. And then off of the search, you have some sponsored display that will show up.
For those folks that are watching us, let's use the ability to have the visuals on screen while you're talking. Let's use that as our example, KitchenAid. All right, I'm just typing in KitchenAid and boom, here's what gets presented.
So first thing that's going to show up is KitchenAid products because you're doing a branded search there.
Yep.
So obviously they bid on that. So what you see right there, that's a sponsored brands ad at the very top. They obviously won that bid. It shows their brand. They get a nice little picture in there of, I think that's a mixer. And then 3 of their ASINs. And they even get those little tags. See that one on the right, bestseller? Those tags that show up on a detail page will also appear on there, which is pretty great.
Yep. I also see here overall pick, the Amazon's choice badge, is I think it's called.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And that is also derived from the search algorithm, which is independent of, well, largely independent of ads, but still influenced by it.
Well, look at this, Nick. Look at this thing here, Nick. I want you to just, because this was not the case. So if you were on Amazon for quite some time, and here the one in the middle is a bestseller, but the number of what you're presented with on page 1 alone, there is no organic result, at least from this particular search that we just did. There is no organic on the top of the fold anymore. It's all 4 things that you're seeing, all 4 elements, the first row, as well as the top row and the header, they are all sponsored ads.
And what we can deduce from that is that KitchenAid is bidding heavily on their own branded terms. I think actually a really great search we could do would be if you moved up and maybe just type in toaster or mixer, I don't know, whatever kitchen appliance seems interesting to you. Let's go with toaster.
Okay, here we go. Toaster.
Hey, called it KitchenAid 1. So that's a category search term, right? Because there's plenty of companies out there making toasters, but KitchenAid had the top bid on that.
Yep.
So you see
these are sponsored brand ads, right? At the top.
Correct. Yep. And that's why you're seeing the KitchenAid logo rendered as KitchenAid likes at the top. They get their tagline, "You deserve the perfect toast every time." And 3 of their toasters. And it looks like they went with a assortment of colorways on it as opposed to different types of toasters.
Right.
Now, when you look down there, that's interesting. Look at the top. Who's there first? Black & Decker.
Right. Now, look at the first fold. This is the thing that, for me, is the big difference from previous years. You used to see the sponsored brand was always there, right? But then towards the top, it was a mix. Maybe the first organic result, the second organic result, and being organic meaning the thing I searched for, the best product. Now, the first 3, I'll just call it you've got the brands at the top, or the sponsored brands, and the first 2 actual results from the organic search surfaces 2 other ads. That's a change from the past.
It's gotten more aggressive as time has gone on. It's really, you got to be bought into ads to be showing up. Let's scroll down and see how long it takes for an organic one to arrive.
So it's in position, let's call it position 3, right? So sponsored ads, sponsored brands, let's just leave that being the header. And then the number 3 position, which is not even in the first fold or the top of the fold, is that overall pick from Black & Decker. So that's the number 3 position.
So what's interesting about that too is you'll also notice the first organic is the same as the first sponsored.
Let me scroll back up. Oh, so Black & Decker. There's some debate here. I want you to jump right in. For those that are uninitiated, you're going to get jumping into the fire right away. There's a lot of debate about this scenario, just this one. I'm Black & Decker, and I've got plenty of reviews. It looks like I'm at 4.5 out of 5. There's some people that say you cannibalize your organic when you take this approach and trying to be the number 1 sponsored. Where do you come down on this? What's your opinion of that?
My thought is you are never going to really be that relevant to the organic search algorithm without playing in ads. So the organic search algorithm, what it's doing, it's looking, now, granted, this is a black box. Maybe somebody knows. I've never gotten to see truly underneath the hood. Very few people do. But it's based on things like reviews, how well they sell, customer returns, all these different variables that they bring in to see what is the best product that could be served to the Amazon customer. But things like how much is being viewed, how much is being purchased, that's also driven by your sponsored ads. So the better you're doing at sponsored ads, the better you're also going to do on organic, which is actually pretty great for them, which I'm also going to point this out. It's hilarious. They misspelled crumb in their product detail page. Let's say crub
See,
tray.
you know what? I bet, because I've seen this as well for brand names, like maybe the Decker is misspelled. It's spelled without a C, so Deker. And if you bid on Deker without the C, you're probably getting some clicks as a result of that. And I've seen that when we do for those that are not familiar, we use tools like Helium-10 and these type of tools that do searches. And inevitably, you'll find that the misspellings, you may find a lower bid, but relevant, and you'll get clicks on it. And I don't know if that's what's happening here, but I suspect that may be what's at play here. It may be intentional is my position on that.
When you're bidding on terms, it actually, even if you're going with exact match, it will still allow you to bid on terms, things like plurals. Like if you typed toasters in instead of toaster, you would still be in the runnings. It also corrects for misspellings. So if you spelled toaster Toster, you'll get largely the same results. But when you're working with a brand name, those aren't dictionary words. So there might be some cracks there.
Yeah, no. I got to say on our end, we've used the misspellings to our advantage, and we've run PPC against misspellings, and the click-through rate on it is better than the correctly spelled word that a lot of folks are competing and bidding on. So it's worth at least trying to see if the misspelling yields results. And we've found on some, not all, that that's the case.
Yep, and especially going to work on branded terms. Now you're kind of picking up the crumbs a little bit on that. It's probably at the basis
literally, no pun intended on the crumbs.
your crub tray. But, you're there to kind of pick up some of that. It's not the basis for a strategy, but it's a good way to find an extra couple coins in the couch.
Let's jump into some of this because I love the tactics and I love the discussion on the tactics. I'm a business owner like I am, and I'm looking at every penny because profitability is being squeezed. And if I'm picking up keywords as a result, or can I use the misspelling, in this case CRUB, and it's getting click-throughs, and not just click-throughs, but I'm getting buys, so add to cart and then a buy from customers. Would there be a benefit on the organic side when that starts happening within the PPC side? So PPC is getting clicks and as a result buys from that misspelling. Would that then surface and play a role in surfacing my organic side a little bit more?
They'll still show up, but the problem is it's still incumbent on the searcher to be misspelling a word for your keyword to hit necessarily. So assuming most folks are going to type it in correctly, maybe they have autocorrect on their phone, which is how a lot of folks
they're on
do
mobile.
search.
So let's look at that theory. Crub.
Yeah, let's give it a shot.
Let's see what comes up. It's crub. If I just type in crub, I get crub sheets, scrub daddy. Interesting. Crubber. I'd have no idea what that is. Scrubs for women, Grub Hub, which is interesting, and Scrub Brush. I'm going to just type in crub. Oh, could be a misspelling for crib.
Crib. Yep, there we are.
Okay. I'm gonna just try.
The algorithm also picks up on words that are typed in more often than others. And sometimes a new word will come in. It takes a while to get picked up as an actual search term. An example I can give, and this is one of the ones I can share because you could see it on results. Are you familiar with the Apple AirTag?
Yes.
Yeah, great product. I have one on my keyring. They're wonderful. AirTag was not a search term anybody had ever used before their introduction in, I believe it was 2022. Okay. So originally when you would type it in, it would say, did you mean air dog?
Oh, and now it's there.
Now it's there. It now has an established history. The algorithm picked up, hey, people are searching for this.
The reviews on that, 169,000.
They sold a lot of units. A boatload of units, literally. That's actually underselling it.
It says here, I don't know, we don't know exact, but at least a minimum of 10,000 sold in the past. So it could be 20,000, could be 50, but at least 10,000 sold in the past month. Wow.
Yep. But that's Apple, though. That is the Goliath of retail. But
It sure
as
is.
those, but with those kind of terms, that got picked up. So now AirTag is like a recognized search term.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So I know we moved around a little bit, but so if you are getting your feet wet now, if we go back to the folks that maybe are getting their feet wet and they're trying to drive sales, we looked at KitchenAid, we looked at some misspellings. Where would you say that the first place to go to as an Amazon seller is getting started? Would it be sponsored brands? Would it be sponsored products?
Sponsored products is the only correct answer to that. Sponsored products has to be the basis of your advertising strategy.
Okay, and so that's what we're looking at here. So it wouldn't be sponsored brands is the first one that you see at let's call it the header position. Yep. And the sponsored products are these that are down below in the results section.
Correct. Probably better if we go to a more generic category term so we can look at it again. Like,
what do you like? What do you want to do?
Ooh, let's go with an espresso machine. Let's see where that takes us. I don't know why I'm on a kitchen kick today.
Espresso. Oh, look at that. And this is fairly new too, but let's just do espresso machine. Boom.
Boom. Look at so Nespresso won there, but let's look at the sponsor ad. So L'Or, DeLonghi, Mr. Coffee, they obviously all spent big to make sure they're picking up espresso machine. Now, these are usually more expensive bids because it's a whole category. There's a lot of competitors. It's probably a term that's searched quite often. But if you want to be showing up and have your ASINs there, sponsored products is the basis of it. If you could only buy one product from Amazon ads, it needs to be sponsored products. Everything else is an add-on, as I see it.
All right. So sponsored products. All right. Let's add like a little, I don't know, like a tree to that. In sponsored products, you have two ways today really to pull levers. One is on the auto and one is on the manual, right? Of the two, are you setting those up simultaneously and you set up an auto campaign, and off you go, and then you set up a manual, or should you try to harvest keywords out of the auto and then set up your manual?
I would go with the last one you suggested, because as you're entering, the problem is Amazon ads is incredibly dynamic. It's changing every minute based on how much people are bidding, what keywords they're looking at. You don't really have any way to find what works except by trying it. So I would set some money aside, do some auto campaigns, find what starts really hitting, and then you can start leveraging that in manual campaigns. You can also find things that are costing you money, but not getting you the conversion you're looking for. Then you can start doing negative keyword targeting. You can start doing things to exclude that. But really, there was a term we had in the Army sometimes that you have to fight for information. And that's kind of what you're doing here. You got to go in, spend some money, see what works, optimize from there.
Can we also close the loop here on something? Obviously, Amazon ads are great for discovery and sales. But at the heart of it, Amazon, this is a money-making machine for them. There's no way to get around that. And as a business operator, or even an agency, one of the things that I would love for you to tackle, just briefly tell us the interests here and what you really need to do to really protect your interest and resources as you're spending on Amazon versus Amazon's own interests.
Well, Amazon is, of course, always happy to collect money from you from spending on these. It's your responsibility as the business owner to make sure this makes financial sense for you. Let's say you've got a sponsored products campaign out there. Man, you're making a $4 ROAS. That feels great. But you need to look at your margins and make sure you can afford to do that. Are you still profitable after that $4 ROAS, or do you need to optimize for something higher? Or if your margins are thick enough, push harder on that. Amazon is not generally going to go out of their way, especially as a seller, to tell you if your strategy is failing you, because they're still collecting a check. It's really incumbent on the business owner to make sure that this is working for them financially.
Right. And that's the thing. I think that is I think we're going to hear more conversation around that, because Amazon ads are not getting cheaper. profitability on the platform is getting harder. There are more fees from inventory to a bunch of other things that weren't there a year ago, even a few months ago. And I think every facet, including ads and how it's operating for business, should be on the table. So at the end of the day, you have profits left over for the products that you're pushing.
Absolutely. You're not going to be able to grow your business otherwise.
All right. So one last thing. So we've established sponsored products. That's the way to go when you get your feet wet. You're starting on Amazon. I know that for us, we use sponsored brands, and it's treated or should be treated differently. Educate me on why I would want to go to sponsored brands. I've already done my homework, checked it off. Like you talked about, I'm going.
All right, boom. So sponsored products, you're crushing it. You're not getting any real. You're getting declining marginal returns on it, right? There's only so far you can push it. If you have a brand, which you do with Global Teck, that's when you start spending on sponsored brands to make sure that you're showing up at the top of the results. It's really a form of advertisement. When somebody's looking for that category or the brand, you're the first thing that shows up. It really is a form of advertisement. And what it does as well is it also gives an on-ramp to your brand store, which is another place where you can showcase your wares in a way that is intuitive to the customer and can also drive more sales. Also gives the opportunity to be at the very top of the search result and show whatever 3 ASINs you want. There could be reasons for showing them. Maybe these are your highest profit drivers. Get more people to buy them. Maybe it just fits better to whatever the search term is. You may just have that one device that just fulfills that one need. Get it up there. You're just trying to make sure the customer is seeing your brand and those products at the top.
Okay.
This was something I was planning on dropping later, but once you get to the point where you're mature enough to play in all 3, my baseline recommendation is a 60-30-10 split between the 3.
Okay, so say that again for my slow brain to absorb that. 60% what? Sponsored products?
60% on sponsored products, 30% on sponsored brands, and then 10% on sponsored display.
Okay.
Some categories play differently than others, but that's a good baseline to start from to start tweaking it. If you're selling higher priced items, there's more consideration, the purchase cycle is longer. Sponsored display might be a better move for you. If you're selling more generic, substitutable categories,
garlic press or something.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I'd probably be pushing harder on sponsored products. Sponsored display, that might just be extra cost. You won't get quite as much conversion. But if you're selling printers or, I don't know, a nice microphone like this, that I might have bought from your store, that's one where it could make sense to invest a little bit more.
Okay, gotcha. So we've got sponsored products, how to get started, sponsored brands, when it's time to bring that into your playbook. Was there another one that you wanted to throw in there?
Sponsored display. But what I think would make sense to do right now, that we maybe deep dive a little more on the 3 of them separately, and we can get to sponsored display at the end, because that's where it starts to get really interesting.
So if you're watching this for the first time, we're going to have, this is a 4-part series where we're going to dive into the sponsored display. Nick, was there something else that we wanted to leave here for our audience and folks listening in that would be relevant here?
I think the real main takeaway is that sponsored ads are not really optional for Amazon sellers anymore. You have to invest, and you also have to monitor your investments to make sure they're actually paying off for you, because nobody else is going to do that for you until you're big enough to have an AE. Account executive.
Account executive. And I love something you said. You and I have talked in the past. The only thing I would add here, something you said months ago that has not left my brain. As an Amazon seller, you have to be profits obsessed, because nobody else will be. Amazon won't be. Your AE won't be. Nobody else but you. You have to be profits obsessed. We'll wrap on this one. And if you want to join us there and nerd out some more, go check that series out. Nick and I will see you in that episode.